Hey guys, Alex the Punch Doctor here, and today I want to take a look at Terence Bud Crawford's mechanics. Usually I look only at power punches, however today I want to share some additional things related to Bud's mechanics that you might find quite interesting. I'm going to cover some of his power punches and also cover the mechanics of his counterpunching, his ability to always stay on balance and in position relative to his opponent, and how he's always in position to throw a powerful punch. These scenarios are arguably more important than just being able to throw with power. However, the mechanics very much go hand in hand. If you're new to my videos, I'm going to mention some things you may not have heard of before. So if you want an in-depth explanation of the anatomy and the concepts behind punching power, including how to use the stretch shortening cycle in your kinetic chains to power your punch using the 4 punch phases, please check out my reference video. Link for that is in the description. Let's get into the clips. Now, the first thing I want to show you is the difference in jab technique between Errol Spence and Bud Crawford. Now, you're going to see that Errol Spence throws it more like a push. Now, you're not going to see a whole lot of pelvic rotation behind the punch. And it looks like he's just pushing it out there with his tricep. This is going to create a significant difference in jab speed and strength between these two fighters. So look at that. And now we'll look at Terence's jab. Notice when he throws it, he's got a lot of hip rotation there, just like I showed you in the Canelo video. Now this one got blocked. It's kind of irrelevant. However, I want to show you him using his entire body better. This is going to allow him to use just a bit of hip pop to really throw the jab out there faster than Errol does. Because with that rotational component, he's able to elicit a stretch shortening cycle in those crossbody chains to increase the speed and power of his jab. Here's another example of Spence throwing just a push jab. And you see there's not a whole lot of rotation in his hips. And he's just sort of pushing that jab out there with his tricep. And you're going to see the difference play out right here. Both guys start their jab virtually at the same time. And who gets there first? Bud. You see how much faster he is using that little hip flick? These are the integrated mechanics that I talk about on my channel. And this is exactly what I show you to do in my program. It can't be any more clear than this. Both these guys start the jab at the same time. And who lands first? By a pretty wide margin, it's Bud. Because he's using the stretch shortening cycle in his kinetic chains to power his punch. Here's another sequence where you'll see Bud land his jab before Spence does. Now, Spence shows a little bit of hip rotation here. However, it doesn't come close to the amount that Bud is using. And it's not enough to elicit the type of stretch shortening cycle that Bud is getting here. And you're going to see them start the jab at the same time. However, Terence lands first right there. And he's going to be blocking Spence's jab here. However, still, they start the jab roughly at the same time. And Terence gets there first, which is vital, obviously. Jab is the most valuable, most important punch in boxing. And this fight is a showcase of that. Now, this next sequence I think is valuable. You're going to see Terence move his weight back and land in a position from which he can immediately fire back. So let's watch it. Okay. Let's watch it again in slow-mo. So Spence comes forward, obviously, pushes Terence back. Look at Terence's hips and how he puts his legs back under him. And look at his position here. His rear leg is back in a position to absorb his weight transferring backwards, right? And you'll see him absorb the weight and then immediately push off in a plyometric fashion to follow up with a shot. Excellent control of his body, excellent control of balance and position. We'll watch it one more time. Look at his hips, look at his legs underneath his hips. Almost like gallops back. That back leg comes down so he can push right off of it. Excellent. Here's another example of loading through movement. So you're going to see Terence take a little bit of a step back here after Spence throws the jab, loading his tissues, and immediately firing off a jab. And that starts a bit of a combo where he gets the better of Spence. A few jabs make Spence react, make him move, and then left hand and then a couple more. So just wanted to share that. Loading through movement, which some guys ask me about. Here you're going to see a sequence where these guys get kind of close together, too close for Terence to throw a meaningful shot. And he's going to create some distance to create some space so he can throw something back. He's going to take a small step back, just then immediately fire off with a left hook, and then he's going to throw another punch right here, just creating a little bit of distance so he can be as effective as possible. So we'll watch it again, and just to avoid smothering himself, so he can use good mechanics and throw a powerful shot. And you'll see that he uses a ton of hip rotation right here to start the punch. We'll rewind it. His hips move first, his arm is lagging back, and then picks up the contraction to land with a pretty solid shot. And he does it again right here, and you'll see big hip rotation, weight comes down. Hip is rotating, arm is coming back. Picks up the contraction right there. See how he's turning his body using all those cross-body kinetic chains. Big hip rotation, stretch shortening cycle, kinetic chains. Can't really see if that made a huge impact, but I mean, obviously all these punches add up. Let's take a look at the sequence from Terence. You're going to see a big jab powered by hip rotation. Now what that does is going to stretch those cross-body chains, which then can contract for a faster jab and more stability at impact. And notice how he steps with the jab, big step, to allow all of his weight to go forward and then catch himself to reset for his second shot, which is going to be a left hook here. Now you see his weight coming down on his left leg. And you're going to see his hips rotate first, his arms start to lag behind. Now look at his pec and his oblique. His pec is going to start picking up the contraction right there. You see those striations form? And look at his oblique. You can see the striations there, indicating that his obliques are fully engaged. To accelerate that punch, big impact and a weight transfer past the center line to follow through. And we'll watch that again. Weight's on his left leg. Arm lags back. He starts rotating the hip. Pec picks up the contraction. Whole body's already rotating. Impact. Follow through. Weight's on his left leg. Hip rotation. See the oblique striations, pec striations, all those muscles are accelerating the punch, impact, follow through. I want to show you this sequence here where Spence is pushing into Terence and pushing him back. And Terence maintains his balance and his footing through the entire time. And that is likely something that he picked up with his wrestling background. However, we'll watch that again and you'll see that throughout that entire motion, throughout all those movements, he's ready to throw. He's got his eye on Spence. He's controlling with his hand, sure. However, look, he lands on his back foot, ready to throw if the opportunity's there. Again, ready to throw if the opportunity's there. And I have other examples of this as well, which I'm sure I'll show you later. However, this is not unique to this moment in the fight. Here I'm going to show you an excellent use of a feint from Terence, just to create an opportunity. So leading with the action, getting Spence to react, and then landing with another jab. And we'll take a look at that again. I mean, just a minor thing, right? Feint's pretty basic. However, it's executed very well. I don't know if he was looks like he was looking at Spence's body, perhaps, kind of letting Spence know that his intention was to throw the body. So Spence reacts as if he's going to take a shot to the body. And then Terence goes to the head. I think for sure Terence was looking at Spence's body, and that's why Spence anticipated the first feint jab to go to the body. Excellent. I want to show you another little sequence here from Bud. It's a pull counter, and you can see that he sticks his face forward, and this is just his normal movement, right? But just a little close enough to bait Spence, who takes the bait and gets countered. Just beautiful. We'll take another look at that. And you'll see throughout the fight, if you go back and watch this, a lot of these guys do it. They'll just be right on the edge of the right distance, and they'll come in a little bit, bait, see if they can elicit any sort of movement or motion or punch from his opponent, which he does right here beautifully. Just slips out of the way, moves back, and counters. Excellent. Here I want to show you another example of Bud always being in a good position to throw. And you'll see him step back right here and bounce forward, ready to throw something. He didn't see it there. We'll look at that again. But you can see how well he controls his weight and his balance. And he steps back, fully ready to throw a punch. He's already halfway there. Now maybe Spence was a little bit too far away, but you could see when his weight came back, his tissues compressed, and he was in a position ready to throw right away. And that's something you can practice. Get the heavy bag moving and let it come towards you. Just take a little step back, a little hop back, and then plyometrically be ready to throw or throw a right hand. If you're working with someone on the mitts, have them get close, maybe push you back. You step back with the push, ready to explode with a right hand or, a 1-2. Here's an excellent uppercut from Bud that puts Spence down. Follows all the principles I talk about for power generation. We'll take a closer look here, frame by frame, and you'll see Bud start with his hips. His right arm is coming down, already creating the stretch in those crossbody chains between the torso and arm. Hips coming forward, that arm continues to lag back and stretch, and then it picks up the contraction, boom, quite fast. Here's another angle. You see Bud's arm drop. He starts rotating his hips right here. Then his arm picks up the contraction. Bonk. Here's a big right hook from Bud. And you'll see all the principles here. Turning his hips, arm is lagging back. Everything picks up the contraction. Impact. Here's an example of a left cross where you're really going to see the independent rotation of the hips from the torso. Before the torso, and then the torso picks up the rotation along with the arm. So you're going to see Terence's weight coming down right here. And look at his belt line. Right there. And you can see the hips start to rotate forward relative to the torso. I'm going to back it up a few frames and we'll go forward again. Look at his weight come down and his hips rotate. It's just a couple of frames. Right there. And that's all the rotation that you need in order to stretch those crossbody chains and allow them to contract. In an athlete as well conditioned as Terence, that's it. Now the torso starts moving with the arm, and the arm is going to accelerate right here. See how much faster it got? It's because all those chains create a cascade of stretch shortening cycles, which accelerates the punch. We'll take another look at it. This first cross is pretty big with a large step. The second one, you can really see the independent hip rotation from the torso. Weight comes down, couple frames of rotation, stretch of the crossbody chains, torso and arm start moving, arm begins to accelerate, impact. Not the cleanest shot, but still good. Here's a big right hook from Bud that knocks Spence down. And you'll see all the principles at play here. Load, explode, accelerate, follow through. We'll watch it in uninterrupted slow motion here, and then we'll go frame by frame. So here you're going to see Terence's weight come down. His arm starts to drop, beginning to create stretch in the crossbody chains between the torso and the arm. You're going to see his hips start to move forward here, rotate right there. Arm is still moving back. Now everything starts to contract and begin accelerating. So the torso is going to pick up the contraction and the arm, and it gets faster until impact. And you can see Spence's position relative to Bud. That weight is going to cross the center line for the follow through. Of course, big shot. And yeah, Spence is not having a great time at this point. I want to show you this really fast jab from Bud that interrupts Spence's left cross. And it's quite something. It's really fast. And don't blink. But you're going to see that Terence uses the hip rotation right there to really throw a fast jab. And it interrupts Spence, disrupting him and causes his cross to miss. We'll look at this again. And you'll see the hip rotation to power the jab to stretch the crossbody chains so they can then contract faster, right? And make a faster jab. You'll see it right here. Just a little flick and that arm comes out, interrupts the left hand of Spence. It's so good. Here's another great example of Bud getting close to Spence and then backing up a bit to create distance to throw. And to land, when he makes distance, land in a position where he's able to immediately throw a punch. You'll see it right here. He gets pushed back, probably moves back somewhat himself to make room, lands, and is immediately powering his hips into rotation to land that right hook. Just excellent. Excellent balance and coordination. So he gets close, Spence kind of pushes him, and immediately he adjusts his balance, lands in a position where he's able to immediately throw another punch. Here's another example of a difference in jab speed between the two guys. Now, Bud blocks this anyway, but you can see the position where Spence's glove is when Bud lands. Bud's landing first, and they throw around the same time, and Bud gets there. I mean, it could be a light year faster, right? And he's been doing that all fight long. We'll take another look. Now, of course, Spence has had a rough time. You know, he's not nearly as fresh as Bud. But even since round one, Bud's jabs have been considerably faster. So we'll see both their weights come down, and they throw almost at the same time. Bud's a little bit faster, right? And gets there just, I mean, it might as well be a year difference, right? And he's been doing that all fight long. Here's a punch from one of the final sequences of the fight. A big right hook from Bud. And that's really the beginning of the end of the fight. Now we'll take a close look at this. Let's take a close look at this. And you can see that Bud's weight is already on his right foot. So what he's going to do, he can push his hips into rotation from that position. And you'll see what a big rotation it is. So look at how his torso is not rotating yet. And that's a lot of hip rotation, stretching those crossbody kinetic chains, which can then contract to power the punch. You'll see the arm still going back relative to the chest. Now everything starts to turn until impact. That's a big punch. A lot of hip rotation, A lot of crossbody chain stretch, which allows for a lot of acceleration. And we'll watch it again. Bud's weight's on his right foot. Of course, that's going to allow him to explode from it because it's already loaded there. Explode in hip rotation. Create huge stretch in the crossbody chains. Contraction and acceleration. Impact. Follow through. Just a big punch. This was absolutely a pleasure to watch. I haven't watched this maybe since the fight happened. I love Spence. I think he's a great boxer, and I'm a big fan. Terence is just on another level, and I am incredibly impressed by him, and he's an absolute pleasure to watch. All right, guys, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested in improving your punch mechanics and maximizing your own punching power, check out my program, The Power Punching Blueprint. I've had some nice testimonials recently, including this one from Ollie, which says, "Alex, I'm an amateur boxer with 30 plus fights, and I would just like to say how amazing I have found your course. It's clear to me you have a great understanding of the mechanics and the anatomy involved." And this one, "Damn, I have to say I'm really surprised by the program. I've always been a tough hitter, you could say, but it felt like I was missing that one step that could increase my ability to take people out, which I found now. I don't know if you're aware of it, Doc, but you gave me hope." So if you'd like to improve your mechanics, to increase your speed, power, and really your ability to throw punches on demand, you can buy the Power Punching Blueprint today at howtopunchharder.com. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.